Hi guys, Lizardlea here for the 4 Heavenly Beasts Heaven and Earth Design Day 13. I woke up with a bit of a headache this morning, and I'm still kind of like not at 100%, so may not get a lot of footage. I'm not sure. We'll see. I'm just gonna get right to it.
Okay, so picking up right where we left off because we decided it'd probably be better to record now rather than forget and record in a week. So the fight between Kiritsugu and Lancer's master.
Cainith, for the record.
Cainith? I don't think that's what they called him.
Cainith El Muelo Archibald.
Archibald.
Yeah.
Archibald sounds right. Archibald gets shot in the arm or something, and he's just like, oh, that can't be right. And so while he's trying to figure out what actually happened, that Kiritsugu was able to break down, his mercury elemental armor dome thing, Kiritsugu starts running away. And he runs around a corner, and he stops. And, of course, you're sitting there like, dude, what are you doing? Get the hell out of there, or don't stop! And time seems to kind of slow, and then he's like, oh, you know what? I need to reduce my heart rate to 3 times less the normal speed. And so one of the mercury elemental things it's right next to him, but it can't sense him because it can't see. It does everything based off of hearing, and when your heart rate is 3 times slower than normal, apparently it doesn't see you. I don't know. It was kind of weird.
It listens for things, so it's listening for his heartbeat, so he's not having his heartbeat.
Yeah, it was still weird, though.
Yeah, it's way over.
It was very over the top. And also during these fights, you can see he can do, the opposite. So instead of slowing himself down, he's kind of speeding himself up or slowing people around him down. It's not completely clear. I don't remember. But, I mean, he can be, about to be, shot in the head, and he can move himself to be behind them before the person even realizes what's happening. So he can go very, very, very quickly as well.
Yes. Time dilation.
Mm-hmm. And I think he shoots him again, and that's how he ends up in the wheelchair?
Yeah, because this time he actually blocks the shot, and that's actually the bad thing to do there, because there's a whole bunch of, again, the guy who writes this loves to get super into detail on stuff that will never matter again, because it's all about, kind of it being sort of like a live-action video game with stats and weirdness and strange stuff. But, short version, they powdered some of the guy's ribs and put it in these bullets years ago, and so if you get shot with it and you're a mage, it just jacks you up.
Yeah. So it leaves him in the bed. He literally can't get out of bed for a while. And his wife is like, oh, honey, you need to hand over master rights to me. And, I can get you the Holy Grail. So she makes him believe that she's doing it for him. And she makes Lancer believe that she's doing it for him, her husband.
He kind of knows.
She is in love with Lancer, though. Well, no, he makes her...
Well, no, but he knows... So, do you know Lancer's backstory? The actual historical figure? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so, yeah, it's the same thing.
Yes, that's what I was
getting
into. She doesn't... Did I say convince? Because I didn't mean to say that.
Yeah.
She just tries to get him to believe it enough that, although she's obviously doing it because she's in love with him and his beauty mark and all that crap, she's, entranced by him or whatever, he can't do anything. Versus she's like, I love you, and, we're gonna win the Holy Grail War for you. So she kind of beats it out of him, essentially. He hands over rights as a master, and so she becomes Lancer's new master. And it gets crazy, you guys. We didn't even mention the fact that they have command seals, and it's always on one of their hands. I think it's usually on the right hand, but I could be wrong. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. It's always, from what we've seen, it's always on their hands. And you have 3 of them. And you can compel your heroic spirit to do whatever you say 3 times. And once you use up all 3, you are no longer their master. They can go do whatever they want. So you don't want to use all 3 of them, because then you can't win the Holy Grail War. You can only win if you have a heroic spirit.
No, I think you could theoretically win without your last one, but it's basically heavily implied that if you don't have one of these, not only are you not going to win, because it kind of lets you bend certain rules, they might just kill you, and you can't stop them.
Yeah.
Because the whole point is a lot of this is forcing... Again, there's a large theme of honor and whatnot, so like, for example, Lancer and Saber are supposed to be super honorable, and they're constantly forced to do things that they didn't want to because of this command seal, which plays a whole other big part because, you know, they would never do these things otherwise, but the seal says you do it. And that's why you don't want to lose, especially with someone like Gilgamesh, who considers everybody to be beneath him and is hideously powerful.
The only way you can get him to do what you want is by using a command seal. But it makes him angry,
yeah.
So...
And you definitely don't want to run out, because the moment you're out, he's going to
kill you. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think the only other master we didn't talk about is Waver. We only touched
And Waver is wonderful. So the opening scene with him is at like college, and his professor starts reading his paper, and he's super excited. The paper is about how you can be a novice mage, you know, you can be the first one in your generation, and as long as you work hard, you can become one of the greatest mages ever. And so Waver's sitting there like, yeah, he's reading my paper in front of the class, they're finally understanding that I'm really smart, I'm gonna get somewhere. And then the teacher straight up laughs at him and mocks him. And he's just like, yeah, no, you're wrong.
It's the teacher it's Archibald, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
He's the one who originally was going to be Alexander the Great's master. Circumstances happen, and Waver gets a hold of the artifact used to summon Alexander the Great.
Straight steals is the circumstance.
I like Waver, so it was earned.
Yeah,
the teacher deserved it.
Yeah.
He did not deserve Alexander the Great, and Alexander the Great said that himself.
This is
He
true.
said he was happy with Waver,
Yes.
and he wouldn't be happier with anybody else.
Yes.
And I would like to point out, Waver is the only one who comes out of this happy.
Happy is a stretch, but yeah,
He
like
did.
not a mess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He came out of that on the better end.
Yeah.
He pops up in the second season, and he's a professor now, and it's great.
Yeah, and he actually has a whole series later. Well, not a series, but a season or show about him, yeah.
I have not seen this. I don't know about it. I want it.
Yeah, I was going to mention it when you finished everything else, because, like,
I love Waver,
I've
you
heard
guys.
it's not great.
Aww.
But I've
Well, I
heard
mean,
that-
if it doesn't have Ryder, then...
Well, basically, my understanding is everyone watches it because there's one scene where he gets to see Ryder again, and...
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna cry.
Yeah,
I'm
see.
literally gonna cry right now just thinking about it, you guys. The two of them were my favorite characters. So the two of them together made me so happy, because it's just like, yes. They were perfect.
So, yeah, I think we can sum up at least Fate Zero and move on to Blade Works.
Well,
Unless there's something else you want to say.
I lost my train of thought
I mean,
now, so...
I mean, barring going over every single plot point,
Oh,
which we could do.
no! I wanted to talk about the fight between Gilgamesh and Ryder.
Sure.
Because Gilgamesh and Alexander... He calls himself Iskandar. It's Alexander the Great. He uses both names. Well, he's supposed to be the adult version of Alexander the Great, and he went by Iskandar.
Well, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I know.
You said, well, yes, which
Because
made
I
it
was also
sound
going to
like...
say that they did the short joke thing, but yeah.
Ah, yeah, that was funny. So, like we said before, Alexander the Great's noble phantasm is a reality marble where his army comes out to crush everything in its way. Gilgamesh's noble phantasm is he just has portals upon portals upon portals of weapons that open up and just shoot weapons at you.
Yeah.
So they're kind of like the ultimate
So, like,
offense against the ultimate offense.
to give just a little more context, because it's kind of cool, the idea is that literally he's opening a portal to his vault where he keeps all of his treasure, and so, of course, any noble phantasm any other hero has is in his vault, because he has all the treasures of the world.
So he doesn't have one noble phantasm. He has billions
Yes.
of noble phantasms.
So he basically, like, rapid fires super weapons that other people might have one of at you. Is kind
Yeah,
of
and
his
he
go-to.
has gajillions of them.
And this is relevant for later, is why I'm explaining.
Well, it's relevant right now.
Well, also, yes.
So Gilgamesh just basically crushes Alexander the Great's army, because when you have swords flying at human beings, the human beings aren't gonna win. They kind of can't. They can deflect them, but you can't kill a sword. So if you can't make it close enough to Gilgamesh in order to take him out, you're not gonna win. But Alexander the Great, he's on a horse at first, and he's booking it that way. The horse gets taken out by the weapons, and then he starts running at Gilgamesh. He gets hit in the shoulder and the stomach, I think, and he keeps going. You guys, he gets within like 10 feet of Gilgamesh. And Gilgamesh doesn't look nervous, but he whips out a different noble phantasm. It's a bunch of chains. And so he holds Alexander the Great in place. And what was it called?
Enkidu. It's named after, in the myth, Enkidu, or whatever his name is Gilgamesh's friend and the most important person in his life. And he dies, and that's actually a big, big plot point for Gilgamesh in both the epic and in this. So go ahead.
So he's holding Alexander the Great there, and I think he compliments him, and then he kills him.
Yeah.
So, but I was so proud in that moment that, like, that was the closest in that whole season that you see to Gilgamesh losing. The closest. Where else?
Yeah, no, you're right. I just have never thought of that.
It was the closest moment.
Yeah, well, because
it didn't happen, but it was close.
The two...
Like, Alexander the Great was the one...
Doesn't Zerker kind of put him on edge at once?
I mean, he's on the jet flying after him, but Gilgamesh is just like, oh yeah, let's do this, and he's on his own flying ship.
Which was weird, but yeah.
Yeah, it was... I don't know where that flying ship came from. That was odd.
Yeah, we need a jet fight, but he doesn't have a jet. Whatever.
Yeah, he has a bird thing.
Throne.
It was weird. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, throne. It had a throne on it. But it made me proud because Ryder was my favorite character. He still is across both seasons that I've seen. Alexander the Great's the best.
So yeah, just to kind of
So seeing him be a major badass was awesome. Continue.
Oh no, I was just gonna say that, like, the interesting... I thought it was kind of really well done because they're really trying to establish that Gilgamesh is in another league. And at one point, I believe at the drinking contest, Iskandar, Alexander, whatever, says, the fight between you and me is going to decide this.
Yeah.
And it kind of does, although oddly kind of doesn't. But it's kind of interesting because you're expecting this big, heroic, huge fight. Because, like, Zerker already had, like, a huge fight with Gilgamesh where he's fighting him for, like, 5 minutes on screen or something.
Yeah, because Cthulhu's in the background during that scene.
Yeah. Fun facts. If you look carefully, he's destroying the city.
Everything!
Yeah. And the idea here is, one, Gilgamesh, again, getting into the video game stat things, he actually pulls out his other noble phantasm super early, because it's anti-reality Marvel, because of course he's got all the BS he needs to win. But, like, it's really neat that this big, big fight that they've been building up, that they had the guts to just make, I mean, I think it's, like, less than a minute. It's literally, he just immediately destroys his entire world by causing it to fall apart and shooting swords at his entire army. Then he catches him with chains, and then he stabs him. And then there's a really, really good scene afterwards with Waver. Which I think is both good character development for Waver and good writing for Gilgamesh, because do you want to gush about it?
No, you go.
Short version, Waver beforehand is like, I'm going to, like, he promises to be a follower of Alexander or something like that, you know, and then when Alexander dies, he's like, I would fight you, Gilgamesh, and Gilgamesh is like, yeah, and you would die, and he's like, yeah, but I swore I would, you know, carry on Alexander's name, and he, like, respects that, and it's a little thing, but it's really well executed, and not what I would have expected, especially because it would have been, you know, you're kind of expecting, especially Gilgamesh, to either not care, kill him, or treat him like dirt, and he just sort of honors and respects him, which is...
Yeah, it's nice.
Depth you don't expect from someone who is, at other times, so ridiculously over the top.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so before that fight, when Ryder is leaving in order to go to the fight, Waver is just like, okay, well, like, we know this is going to be the big battle. Like, if you win this, we're going to win the Holy Grail. If you don't, we're not. You're gonna be dead or you're gonna win, and that's it. So he uses his command seals. He's just like, you're gonna go out there, you're gonna win, you're gonna kill Gilgamesh, and you're gonna win the Holy Grail War. So he uses up all of his command seals, and Ryder is just like, okay, I'm gonna go do that. he doesn't immediately turn around and kill Waver or anything. They have a mutual agreement. They like each other at this point. So even though Waver is no longer his master, he's still just like, yeah, I'm gonna go do it. Let's go. Like, I'm going. It was beautiful, you guys. I'm really sad the writer's dead. He was the best character.
Yeah.
I have tears in my eyes. I miss him so much. Okay.
He's a great character. So,
he's the best character.
Suffice it to say, Fate has more than enough to talk about. Fate Zero is good, especially if you can put up with some of the more weird issues. If you've ever heard about it and you've been like, oh, I've been told I should watch it.
It's worth it. Like,
it's very good.
As long as you can deal with some of the darker aspects.
Again, it does not hold back on those.
Yeah, like you're not going to be able to skip past the bugs and understand what's going on, you guys. So.
Yeah. So I mean, it's good, and I mean, there's not much else to say than that. I think.
Yeah, I think we hit everybody. That was.
It's fun. It's got lots to talk about. It's got a lot of characters, and they're all done really well. So there's lots for people. You know, again, like this may not be my favorite anime, but it's so easy to talk this long about it. You know, it's definitely one of them. So then there's the next season.
Unlimited Blade Works. So okay, across these 2 seasons, Waver and Ryder are my favorite characters, and they're in the first season. But I prefer the story from the second season. I don't know. I feel like if the first one focuses too much on Arthur, and I don't like her. I actively dislike her. Or at least I don't feel enough good things about her in order to care enough. So it just annoys me. Versus, she does not stand out as much in the second season. Like, Reen is my favorite character in the second season, and she's one of the main characters.
Right.
So it's nicer.
Should I bother with a summary? Probably can't hurt, just given how complicated this junk gets.
Is there really like
short,
it's been
short,
6
short,
years
10.
rather than 60? Oh, I thought it was 6.
I'm pretty sure it's 10
Oh,
because
okay.
they're like 6.
Well, it's okay. It's not 60 years basically.
Short version. The girl who had the horrible stuff happening to her has grown up, as has her sister, and both their parents are dead. Basically, so families are dead, people are dead, everyone's dead, and at the very end of the first one, Kirutsugu technically wins, but horrible stuff happens, and
he
a bunch
makes Arthur destroy the Holy Grail.
Yes, and then thousands of people die, and he saves one kid. He manages to just save one kid, and it totally breaks him. And there's a whole bunch of other junk going on. But he saves this one kid, and he adopts the kid, and that kid is the protagonist. His name is...
Tosaka. No, that's the girl.
Rin.
Shiro Emiya.
Shiro,
Emiya.
thank you, Emiya. Yeah, Kirutsugu Emiya and Shiro Emiya.
Shiro.
Yeah. Shiro Emiya. We'll call him Emiya, because that's kind of the point.
That's what they call him, is
Yeah.
Emiya. That's how the Japanese... Yeah.
Yeah. So, he is the protagonist of the original games and of this, and it's... I don't know, it's fun. It's good. It's not as... Again, it's a little more... suspension of disbelief, because now we're getting back into like more standard anime tropes where, wow, this is a horrible death battle with immensely powerful people. Of course high schoolers make up half the cast. Like,
yeah, I will say, there are a lot of kids in this one where you're just like, really?
Although,
you're gonna make kid mages the ones?
They do
a
a decent job of at least kind of justifying it as much as you can.
Reen, for sure.
Yeah,
she
because...
kicks butt.
Well, it's not just that, it's the idea that these people are incredibly powerful because the magic is passed down through generation.
Yeah.
So it's literally, it takes so long to figure this stuff out. You pass on your knowledge through like a crest and a bunch of other weird junk. So they're not just kids who picked this up yesterday. They're literally raised from childhood to do this stuff. Mm-hmm. And then
one of them was created to do this.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, we didn't talk about the homunculus in the first one.
Yeah, but you don't care about her, and I don't either.
That's true.
She's the waifu of the one guy. She becomes a cup. Life is hard.
She becomes the Holy Grail.
Yeah. And
their daughter is going to become the Holy Grail. They're literally just created to be the Holy Grail. It's kind of weird.
It gets so freaking complicated the more you look into it, and unfortunately that doesn't hold up well. But the point is, they kind of do a decent job of the idea of like, well, I guess since we're going to use high schoolers, at least they're kind of justified and like they are raised to do this. Mm-hmm. It's not just some random kid, except for the protagonist. But, well, even then, he's been practicing since he was a kid. He's just not supposed to be as good as he is.
There's a point.
Yeah, there is. So, there's actually more points than I think you even know. But,
rude.
The short of it is, the main character is the adopted son of Emiya. Emiya is the adopted son of Emiya. There, great. I'm making this really easy. And he's going to go on an adventure and find out about this because he doesn't know. He was not told anything. He was told kind of like how to work with his magic, which is reinforcing things.
And that was it. That was
and he's
the only
not,
magic he was taught.
Kind of. He practiced some other thing, which becomes relevant later, but he wasn't good at it, so he stopped. And also there's maybe some philosophical junk there. But yeah, he's not really particularly great at anything. Actually, he's kind of great at a lot of things, but whatever. And so that's the plot, is just this next generation's battle. And the battle is only 10 years later because of how things happened before. It ended in such a weird way that it recharged super fast and started the next battle super soon. So that's the setup. I know, once again, way too long.
Wasn't as long as my Brotherhood one.
Yeah, but then again, you gushed about it.
Oh my god, I love Brotherhood. Anyways, do we want to talk about the people?
Sure. So
Should we go straight to the servants?
Yeah, let's go through the servants.
So the first one I have is Ryder, which I don't think you learn this in Unlimited Blade Works.
You will not
unless
learn her
you read
identity,
the credits.
no.
But apparently she's Medusa. I was very angry to learn this because I didn't think it was. I don't think it followed the myth at all. Like, she's absolutely drop dead gorgeous, and she has on a blindfold, and she's Ryder. So it makes no sense. But Dave and I were talking the other day, and he mentioned that in the other anime, he thinks she has Pegasus.
She does.
And I was like, okay, well, you said you think, but now you know.
Yeah, I
Okay,
checked
sure.
since then.
So I was like, yeah, but like, Pegasus was born from her severed body when they took off her head. Like, Pegasus was only born after she died.
That's what she actually looks like.
Yeah, but that's not... She's supposed to have just snakes on her. It's weird.
I thought it was a cool interpretation.
It's not snakes. If they were snakes, maybe.
I'm
But they
okay
don't
with
look
this.
like snakes.
I'm okay. Yeah, I think it's whatever.
I don't
So
know. But like, you barely see anything of her. What she does do is really interesting, but it doesn't read Medusa in any way, and she's taken out very early on.
So to be somewhat fair and real side, like, it's not going to be interesting to
She's
you.
not important in this.
Yeah, because you're supposed to play through the game three times.
Yes, this
yeah.
isn't the game. This is the
I
anime.
know, and that's just saying why it adapted weird. So the whole reason they do this is because, yes, when you're playing the game, you're supposed to play through it 3 times and be like, well, that's weird. I never figured out who Blah was. And in the first arc, you don't even know anything about Archer. And then the second arc, you learn everything about Archer, but you still don't know a ton about her. And then the third arc, you find out more about her. So that's why they do this sometimes in these. We're like, well, why didn't we get more of them? I don't even know who they are. I wouldn't even know unless I read the credits. And it's like, well, yeah, because you're supposed to learn elsewhere. So there's weird stuff like that sometimes. And it is a shame because she's a really cool character design. But then again, given what they do with her in the other arcs, maybe it's better. I remember it being disappointing. But whatever. So yeah, that's Ryder. Who do you want to...
Lancer.
Mm-hmm.
Tulane.
Kulane, I believe it is.
The
Which
Child of Light from Ireland.
Yeah, I believe the abridged series refers to him as basically Irish Hercules, which, if I recall what I read about him, is pretty accurate. So he is ridiculously... I don't know, I thought he was fun. But...
Okay, so I liked Lancer in the original, and I liked Lancer in Unlimited Blade Works. And they both died horribly brutal deaths. In the original one, he was forced to kill himself by his master. And then in this one, he dies in a burning building, doesn't he? Doesn't he die in the fire?
I think after getting stabbed.
After getting stabbed, yeah, that's right.
As is kind of traditional.
It's horrible. Like, the Lancers are really interesting, cool characters. And they are just brutalized, and it just makes me sad.
So this is a
They
thing
deserve
that's
better.
kind of technically only in the game, because they very intelligently didn't bother to mention this at all in the show. Again, it's tried to portray like a video game, so like there's all these stats and special skills and things that all these characters had that you can read about, which they totally dropped from the anime, because that, like, they vaguely mention it here and there. Like, oh my gosh, this person only has a B stat as their lowest. Like, what's a stat? It's for Berserker, they say that.
Sure, I don't recall this, but okay.
Yeah. And it's because it's kind of stupid. And it's also implied, like, why certain things can happen, like Arthur dodging an undodgeable attack twice. And so the joke / sad answer to why these horrible things happen to Lancer is because they both have E rank luck stats.
So
Yeah.
no luck.
Yes. And therefore that's why all these horrific, terrible things happen to them. Because not having luck is bad.
That's so unfair.
Yeah, it's
My
ridiculous.
poor Lancers.
But then again, they make great characters because they're kind of tragic.
Like, the Lancers both of them are shown to be very honorable. But I prefer their approach to honor over Saber's. So...
The first one is way more honorable than the second, but they're both very
True,
honorable. Yeah.
yes, but it's not just like...
They're nowhere
They don't
near the
annoy me
rest.
with their honor.
Well, because Saber's so frickin' wishy-washy.
It's just so annoying. She's so annoying. So, this one was... is he my favorite? Berserker in Unlimited Blade Works, you guys, is Hercules.
Yeah.
And, okay, so, like, I love Greek mythology, which is why I was so disappointed with Medusa. But I was so excited by Hercules. He is gigantic, which he was supposed to be. Like, dude is built, and he has the right clothing for the time period. It fit. And he's so strong. He's really fast. And it makes sense that he could be Berserker class because he was driven crazy by Hera. And, and the 12 labors and all that. And he killed his family. Woohoo. fun
Good times for Hercules, yeah.
Poor baby.
Welcome to Greek Tragedies.
Tell me about it.
I'm a hero in what? A Greek myth. Aww.
Yeah. Unless you're Perseus, then good. So I just completely, my brain just...
Berserker, awesome.
Awesome, yes. Oh, his noble phantasm is every 3 days he can revive. So if you kill him, he'll come back to life.
It's the 10 trials of Hercules.
12 trials of Hercules. And it's really cool the first time you see it because you're just I was screaming at the television. I was like, you do not bring in someone like Hercules and take him out within 5 minutes. Like, this is ridiculous. And then he comes back to life. And I was freaking out. I don't know if you remember, but I was screaming and I was like, yes! This is good! And eventually and the little homunculus girl, who is the daughter of Kiritsugu and the homunculus from the first one, leave. She is his master. There's a whole thing. I'm not going to get into them. But eventually, Hercules and Gilgamesh comes back, and they fight. And Hercules he kind of has him, not necessarily on the ropes, but it's kind of like with Ryder from the previous season, where it's like, yeah, if 9 out of 10 times Gilgamesh wins this fight, but 1 out of 10, they can pull some kind of hat trick and try it out. And this is not one of the 10. This is the 9. And eventually Gilgamesh realizes, like, oh, okay, you can revive 12 times, but what happens when we hit 13? You had your 12 trials, so you can come back 12 times. So he kills him 12 times, and then he blinds the homunculus girl, and she just wants to get to Hercules because she was very weird, but she did learn to really like Hercules. She genuinely cared about him. So she just wanted to hold his hand, basically, when she got cold and was dying. And Gilgamesh is about to kill her when Hercules comes back to life. And he tries to attack him. And that's when Gilgamesh is like, wow, you really lived up to your own story. You had your 12 trials, but you came back one more time to try and protect her. And then he kills him.
Yeah.
And it sticks. He turns to powder. It's sad. But I thought it was really interesting because, like, Hercules was amazing. Like, everybody has heard of Hercules. So I felt like they did him justice.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. He's definitely one of the better things about the season. And he has some beautiful fight scenes.
So good.
And, like, he looks ridiculously huge, and then they have him move like a freaking ninja. It's just great.
And, oh, man, when they zoom in on his face... So, berserkers are, like... They're crazy. He looks terrifying in every shot you see him. As he should. He's Hercules.
Yes.
Dude was big. Okay. So, moving on. Assassin is Shinichiro Miki, which is a Japanese myth, and we already talked about that. He's not the real assassin, but
lots of
you don't meet
stuff.
the real assassin this season, right?
Yeah.
So, he has some really cool fights too, and I love the way he looks. I like looking at him. He's very beautiful. They got a very good design for him. He is a freaking master swordsman, and it's awesome.
He's the saber class.
He's what?
Never mind.
He's the saber class assassin?
Yeah, well, no, it's a joke. Never mind.
Okay. I didn't get it.
But no, it's very cool because, he gets to go toe-to-toe with the saber, who is Arthur, again. And
he would have won, but he's honorable, and he's like, okay, you can leave.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, I think it's implied it's kind of closer than that, but then she gets distracted.
It's because, Emiya comes over, and so he's like, oh, I want to fight you when you're at your best. And it's like, yeah, but I mean, when you can take someone out, take them out.
Yeah, well, that is... And that's why you'd use gun magic, so...
I'm not honorable. No. I'm not a heroic spirit, though, so it doesn't matter.
Why are they still alive? You had a chance. So, related to him, probably Castor next?
Yep, Castor is next.
Because there's not much to say.
And that is Medea. Mm-hmm. So much mythology going around this one. I love it. Mm-hmm. So, she, in the English dub, is voiced by the original My Valentine from Yu-Gi-Oh!, which is super weird to listen to. I'm just saying, like... I love Mai's original voice, but it's so weird. I see Medea, but I'm hearing Mai, and it's just odd. Anyways, so she just wants to go back to her home, and she kind of branches off on her own. Like, she has a master, but she summoned assassins, so she's also a master. And there's a big story line plot with her. She is incredibly powerful. It's really cool.
Yeah. I can't really add too much detail without getting lost in, like, stuff that's not going to make sense over this. But no, she's really well done, and it's very, very cool. I like how they do their magic. The whole idea is that she is a rule breaker. It's the name of her phantasm. She gets to basically cheat and make things weird. And she's just very well done, and her fights are freaking gorgeous.
Oh, yeah. I love when she flies, because she has this cape. It's kind of like Batman's.
Yeah.
Where, like, it flies out. It looks so cool.
And then it shoots lasers. Batman with lasers.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so True Assassin's not that. Oh, why didn't it show all of the servants? Is that all of them?
The only other one is, spoilers, Gilgamesh, but you already mentioned him.
Well, yeah, I already mentioned him.
Because he's still there from the last war due to reasons.
Archer.
Well, yeah.
We don't have the Archer of our season, because Gilgamesh is the Archer of the previous season. So the Archer of this season, big spoilers, you guys, turns out it's Shiro Emiya grown up.
Yeah.
And, well, I thought it was super interesting.
No, I think it's really interesting. It's just going to be, it's so freaking...
It's very convoluted. It's very confusing. He can create copies of every weapon he sees. Yeah, like, that's what it is. Yeah. And so he has his own reality marble, and it's really cool to see it, because, so... Writers from the previous season, Alexander's was bright and colorful, and there was sand everywhere, and you had all of his army behind him. Shiro Emiya's reality marble here is dark, gloomy. It looks like a graveyard. There's just swords and other weapons sticking out of the ground everywhere, and there is a gigantic gear in the background.
In the sky.
Really? Because it looks like it's far back and it looks like it's in the ground.
There's a couple, but there's some in the ground.
Oh, there's more than one. Well, there's just one freaking gigantic one that I remember. It stood out to me. And eventually, Archer and Archer fight. Shiro Emiya and Gilgamesh fight. and it's freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Because it's like, this is the one noble phantasm that has a chance against Gilgamesh. Like, legitimately has a chance. Because every weapon that Gilgamesh throws at him, Emiya sees it first, and he can create a copy. And of course, you know, the copy can destroy the original, and like, I mean, I think for most of them, they just bust each other up.
Mm-hmm.
So he just has to keep creating copies as he sees them.
Mm-hmm.
He ends up winning, doesn't he? I haven't finished.
Yes.
It's been so well. I mean, I finished
You haven't
last
refinished
year, but I
rewatching
haven't
it.
refinished it this time.
Basically, yes, sort of, kind of, yeah. So the whole, I find that like the least interesting thing about Archer.
Oh, that's so cool.
Well, it's a cool fight, but like the whole point of it is we don't know this is future Emiya.
Oh yeah.
For like technically half the season. You can figure it out way earlier, but they don't officially state it until later. They drop huge clues though. Because the whole point is that like, yeah, he's over here trying to figure out what he wants to do, and this Archer guy is the servant of Rin.
Oh, and by the way, important note. Archer, future Shiro Emiya, is constantly trying to kill our Shiro Emiya of the current time.
Yeah. So...
Like, he knows that is his past self, and he's trying to actively kill him.
And so, continuing on the huge spoilers path, it's a neat idea, because the idea is while the Shiro that we're seeing, it is confirmed, would probably never become the Archer that we're seeing. The Archer that we're seeing doesn't know that. Mm-hmm. And he hates his path through life. Mm-hmm. Because the whole point is that Shiro has this dream of, I'm gonna save everyone.
He got that from Kuritsugu.
Yeah, well, kind of, sort of, yeah.
Yeah.
So I will always save everyone. And it's not a realistic dream, and this becomes incredibly apparent when you're fighting a, fight to the death mage war. Or it's like, well, okay, save everybody. How are you going to stop the fact that this, like, magic lady is trying to murder you? You going to talk her down? She doesn't seem to be listening. What do you do?
Not at all.
And because of this mindset, supposedly the idea is that he will go on to become very, very powerful, keep trying to save people, and just keep winding up having to kill them, and just fall apart, lose all hope, and become this incredibly miserable being, which is basically Archer.
Yeah, he's forced to become, like, a guardian.
Yeah, it gets real freaking confusing.
Yeah, it gets, again, very convoluted.
Yes, they love this stuff. So, point is, Archer himself, thus, is trying to commit the world's most complicated suicide via magic time travel-y thing.
Paradox.
Yeah, and
I
more.
cannot exist here if my past self is dead.
I'm not even sure it's confirmed that would happen, and he might even know that. It's just that he wants to stop it from happening again. Like, he'll still continue to exist and be miserable, but he'll know that it won't happen again or something, is maybe, I don't know. Point is, he is, like, actively, continuously trying to murder Shiro, which is really interesting, especially because, of course, the girl likes him. And
oh, yeah, Reen has such a crush on him, and he has a crush back, and it's adorable. I ship them.
But we're not there yet. So.
Well, I mean...
Do we have... Oh, I guess that's it for him, so we can get on Masters.
We got through the servants, didn't we? Isn't that everybody?
That's basically it. Gilgamesh
Saber,
is back.
Archer, Rider, Gilgamesh. Yeah, the way they set this up on this one is super weird.
Yeah. So, either way, obviously we've talked basically about Emiya, because that's the whole arc for Emiya, is figuring out, like, how to reconcile what's going to be his future and his crazy dream. And it's basically made a point of that, like, this is the kind of guy who, like, everything he does is for other people. He can't be happy unless he's helping others, sort of thing. And they sort of completely poke holes in that entire concept, saying, look, that's not a healthy way to live. It's not a good way to live. You can do things for other people, but you also need to do things for yourself. And that's the whole philosophical side of this entire season. So next to him, then, is the other main protagonist, Rin, who is the daughter of the guy who originally summoned Gilgamesh and who later died through betrayal, because, hey, why not? And she's also trying to win, and she definitely has always apparently had a crush on Emiya, doesn't know he's a mage, doesn't know he's going to get involved, and he kind of accidentally gets involved, as is the case in these things. And he dies almost immediately, because, hey, he has no idea what he's doing, and he's caught out, and he's killed because he witnesses something he's not supposed to. And so she saves his life using an incredibly priceless artifact.
Pendant.
Yeah. That was given to her, and...
Well, no, it was one of the puzzles that her dad... Well, like,
Yeah.
Yeah, he left her a puzzle, she solved it, she got the pendant.
Yeah, and because she's like one of the poster childs of, what is it, tsundere or whatever. Yes, dear. So either way, short version, yes, she saves his life, and that kicks off a lot of this.
And she leaves the pendant. So later on, her archer brings the pendant to her, and she's just like, oh, okay, you picked it up, thank you. And then later on, Shiro Emiya gives her the pendant, and she's just like, what the heck? Like, there's only one of these in existence. So that's when she figures out, oh, Archer is Emiya all grown up.
Yeah. But either way, I guess her main point of existence is trying to figure out, again, like, well, I'm supposed to be this super cool mage person who's going to win at any cost because my father wanted me to, and, oh wait, this person I like is in the thing, and I basically have to kill him. And she definitely struggles with the whole, should I kill him? Like, they do, it's fun watching her try to deal with the fact that, like, she swears she's going to kill him next time she sees him, sort of stuff. And then
I mean, she attacks him.
she
in
makes a
school
very
once.
spirited effort, yes.
She almost kills him.
She does not hold back, but it's still pretty...
But it doesn't work.
And she also kind of takes the first out she could get.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Which is fun.
I ship them so hard.
Yeah, and it's
This is my route.
Yes, dear. And it's definitely one of the more fun things about it. But I don't know that there's much else to say about her. Like, that's her in a nutshell, right? Like,
I mean, like, her mage powers are incredibly interesting because they're very different from anybody else's that we see. She uses gems.
yeah, she chucks
And
fortunes at
she
people.
throws them, and it's awesome. She's very
mix.
strong, and she takes on Castor,
Yeah.
which is amazing. One of the things I really liked was when Archer summons the flower thing to take on Lancer's. Oh my gosh, what was that called?
The Geas, the Aegis, sorry.
Aegis, yeah, is it? I don't
Something
think it's
Aegis, yeah.
something like that. Yeah.
Geas, Aegis, or something like that.
Yeah, and it has like multiple layers, and he's like, when Lancer throws his lance, it has accuracy, like it will never miss. What?
I mean, it's kind of almost understating it. It literally is supposed to rewrite the universe to hit.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
it's 100% accurate. It will hit you in the heart. And so Emiya's just like, ew, I don't want to deal with that. And so, what?
No, just go ahead and finish, and I'll tell you.
What, you're wrong. So it looks like a gigantic flower, and it has like 10 layers. And the lance busts through every single layer eventually. And, I mean, it doesn't hit Emiya in the heart, but he's just like, yeah, I don't have control of my arm anymore, so that was my strongest defense, and you took it out. It was a really cool fight.
So the reason I'm over here
It's not a
giggling
serious fight.
is because it's a perfect explanation of how powerful Lancer's ability is supposed to be. It's literally supposed to be completely undodgeable. It will rewrite the universe to make sure it hits, because even if you dodge it, it changes reality to one where it hit. And yet the only times you ever see him use it is twice, and both times it doesn't hit. It's just like, that's kind of like, that is exactly how they write Lancer in all of these, where it's like, wow, this thing should never miss, except it will every time you use it, because screw you and Plotter.
Your luck is an E.
Yeah, like, it's just the perfect example of how they treat him, and it's sad, but it's funny.
It's not fair.
I think it's
Lancer
hilarious.
deserves better.
So yeah, I know the one that I think is cool is the Caster's Master.
Oh!
Because they do kind of... So, again, Castor is already kind of like an anomaly in this thing, and it's kind of implied that she's just running the show on her own. So they think for a while that maybe her master has been mind controlled or under her control or something. And very early on, as you mentioned, Ryder gets killed. Like, just totally annihilated, off screen. Like, they find her body and they're like, is she dead? And then her head spins 360 degrees. They're like, oh yeah, she's dead. It's bad. And it's quick. It's not like she even put up a fight. And you find out that Castor's master is the one who did that. It's not, like, Castor's helping a little, but for the most part, it's just he's that much of a dangerous individual. And so he fights and just completely destroys Saber, and I love that scene.
Punts her just across the street, and it's just glorious. Soichiro Kazuki Soichiro
Oh yeah, that's his
Kuzuki.
name. Yeah, yeah. Kuzuki. Yeah.
Kuzuki. I don't know. I don't pronounce.
No,
it
I have
like
no
that
idea if
again.
I'm saying it
pronounce
right. I'm just.
Well, that's how they say it on the show.
Oh, okay.
But that's how an American would pronounce it. It's pronounced Kuzuki. Kuzuki.
Gotcha. I believe you.
Yeah, whatever. So Sakura, her route is going to be the next one.
Yeah, so
The
it's
movies or
technically
whatever.
Shinji, who is a terrible, terrible character and human being.
Oh, her brother?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And he started out as Medusa's master,
Yeah.
and then he became Gilgamesh's master.
Yes.
And Gilgamesh just puts up with him.
Barely. Yeah, Shinji is one of the worst
He's
things.
disgusting.
Yeah, no, it's really one of the worst things about it because not only is he disgusting, but like then Emiya like lets it slide in a way that even for Emiya is hard to believe. Like, no, you would not just be like, oh, okay, you know, like there's some really disturbing stuff that Shinji does that is just outright disgusting, and like it's pretty obvious that he almost certainly did these things, and I don't remember exactly how they handle it in the show, but Emiya just kind of like, oh, okay, you know, like not exactly like that, but oh, you better watch your step. Like, yeah, dude, do something. Like,
Yeah.
for the love of
like-
God, call the cops. Like,
Yeah, right? Like, he had Reen tied up. Like, dude.
Yeah.
Dude.
and they just he's
That's
kind of
your
annoying
girlfriend.
because he's almost tropey in how cartoonishly evil and inept he is, and then on top of it, how because he's cartoonishly evil and inept, we need to keep letting him get away with it so we can keep him around to be cartoonishly evil and inept, and it's like so frustrating. And they do something with it, but I don't think it's worth what they did. I believe that's all of them, right? Well,
I think that's everybody.
Kirei's in this, but yeah, it's fun. Which is the huge spoiler, because if you play the game first, which none of you probably ever will, you're not supposed to know anything that happened in Zero, so you're not supposed to know that he's evil, but you would have already played the other route, and this just gets more and more and more complicated, so there's no way I can finish this intelligently. I tried, though.
I believe in you, boo. I believe.
But yeah, Fate, at least these two are really, really fun and really, really over the top, and if you haven't watched them, you should. At the very least, they're gorgeous, and they're so cool. There's some ridiculous stuff. The rest of the Fate stuff, I am not a huge fan of from what I've been exposed to, except some of the comedic stuff that like takes everything completely tongue-in-cheek and like makes fun of it. There's a spin-off show that like takes all the characters and like pokes fun at everything and like keeps killing Lancer anyways until he finally stops himself from dying because he's so sick of it. It's really fun.
Poor Lancer. And that's the end.
Okay.
And that is the end of Four Heavenly Beasts Day 13. I got exactly 7 hours of footage, which seems kind of weird because I started after 7 o'clock because I slept in for an hour, and it's only 6:14. So I just really wanted to get page 2 done because page 2 is done now. It's very exciting. I'm so happy. So I think I'm going to speed through this next part because this is probably just going to be boring. Unless I break everything, then, you know, then it'll be exciting. Oh, I still have the needle in there. I'm a dum-dum. Don't look at me like that, handsome man.
I was just looking at you.
Ish. Okay, I have nothing else to talk about, so I'm going to sign off. Like, subscribe, share, comment, all that jazz, and I'll see you guys next video.